Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and this week on the podcast we have Angelica Nwandu, the creator of The Shade Room, now the CEO of The Shade Room. Angelica started The Shade Room kind of on a whim back in 2014, and it has sort of become this almost accidentally groundbreaking, brand in the celebrity news landscape. It's pretty much like the number one social brand according to ComScore in the world right now, and it really shook up the celebrity news landscape back in the day, and it continues to do so. And I just loved hearing about her story, which is very inspiring. She has some amazing insights into what the Shade Room has been able to accomplish, and now it's gone from one person to like she has 30 employees right now, and it's so crazy. And she has used her own story, her own life experience to also inform how she is using the platform and the kind of the reach of this brand that she's created to also give back and to give back to some of the organizations that helped her growing up. And so I just loved getting time with Angelica, and her story is so inspiring, and I love The Shade Room. And if you aren't familiar with The Shade Room, go look it up on Instagram. It's very easy to find. It's everywhere. You see that TSR watermark everywhere online these days. And yeah, I just loved hearing about it, and it was great. It was a great interview. So keep listening for my interview with Angelica Nwandu from The Shade Room, and please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, you guys, we are here with Angelica Nwandu, who is the founder of The Shade Room. She is the CEO of The Shade Room. She is the brainchild of The Shade Room, and The Shade Room really has been instrumental in changing the celebrity news game. Angelica, I'm so happy to have you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to pick your brain because, again, The Shade Room has it revolutionized just the entire industry. And I think that you were, whether you were intending to or not, like you were a game changer. And I'm so excited to hear about it.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about it. I'll tell
Yeah.
you anything, any question, every question that you want to
Love it.
ask. Yeah.
So you founded it in 2014, and since then, I'm just going to go through some of the accolades that the Shade Room has had or that you have had. The New York Times called you the TMZ of Instagram, which again, I think TMZ was another game changer a little bit earlier for the internet culture, but to be compared to them, I think it's pretty big. You were recently named the number one social brand, I think by ComScore, which is huge. It tracks everything on the internet. And the Shade Room Teens, which is an offshoot of the Shade Room, was also on that list, which is amazing. You were personally named to Forbes 30 Under 30 and Variety's Women Impact Report for 2021. You've gotten, I can't even go through all of the pop culture references or pop culture things that have referenced the Shade Room over the years. I think, that's so indicative of you guys kind of, pushing into the culture. But before we walk it back, I'm curious if any of those things, or if there's something else that really stands out to you as an accomplishment that you're most proud of.
So I have to break that down to a tie.
Okay.
I think that the accomplishments that I'm most proud of are the things that we don't really talk about. Because for me, I feel like being able to build a business and be able to get profit off of that business and to be able to have like scholarships and endowments, to me, that's more something I'm proud of, because we have endowments, so it lasts even no matter how long the Shade Room lasts, that will always be there. And so obviously like that has to be one of my most proud things that we've done, because it's
more
like,
fulfilling. Yeah.
It's more fulfilling, and it lasts longer. You know what I'm saying? It has a longer lasting impact. But also I would say Time Magazine, 30 Most Influential was big. And that was in the beginning of our journey, right? So I think at that time we probably only had in the 3 millions, So wow. To get that, to be honored like that on a list with a lot of people who I respect and admire in business, it was that was definitely a proud moment for sure.
Yeah. And it's cool that some of those things came so early in that journey, because I think it just was, again, indicative of people recognizing, okay, the Shade Room is changing the game. And you must have felt that, okay, it must have kind of empowered you to, okay, like we're doing something that people are paying attention to.
I would say it was a pro and a con, right? Okay. The pro was, it gave me so much energy. You know what I mean? Because I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? I felt like I was Cinderella. Like just before that happened, I was working at Motorcycle Performance Services,
Wow.
trying to get a CPA, and I wasn't able to get into any grad schools, right? So so a part of it gave you energy and like, oh my gosh, like this big thing is happening. And then the other downside is that because we got that at 3 million, after the brand grows so much bigger than what it was, you begin to think, so it kind of like warp your perception. You get what I'm saying? Like it can warp your perception because you're like, well, wait, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to kind of expect that all the time. You get what I'm saying? You get what I mean?
It's sort of like, okay, you recognize us back when we were at 3
Yeah.
million, but now we're quadruple the size, if probably not more. And now it's like, 5 years later, or whatever it was. And, it's like, you want those moments of recognition to still come because you're building into even something even greater and you're expanding it into even something even greater.
Yeah, or you begin to think that is what the symptom of that type of growth.
Sure.
And so when you don't get it, now you're like, oh, are we growing? You know what I mean? But like you kind of have to like check yourself, like, oh, did you get caught on what, you know what I mean? All of that. And so that's basically, it has its pros and cons.
Yeah, I totally get it. I totally do. So I think we're around the same age, and I'm really curious, like, for you, think back before you started the Shade Room. When you were growing up and you were in your teens, what were sort of the things that really kind of got you onto celebrity news or pop culture? Were there certain outlets that you were reading a lot of? Were there certain blogs? Was there like a big celebrity story that you remember really being interested in back in the day?
So this is not going to be like a story where it's like, oh, all my life I was leading up to this point, because the truth is that I had no idea that if you asked me 10 years ago and told me I would be doing this, I would tell you no. Even if you asked me 3 months before the Shade Room happened, I would tell you no, right? And so to me, that's like, a lot of us are kind of like confused about what we're supposed to do, and we have no idea what's our destiny. You get what I'm saying? So
of course.
I didn't start getting involved in like social celebrity news until I lost my job and had nothing else to do. You know what I mean? And then it was all I could do because it was entertaining. And so the sites that I would go to were a lot of the sites that covered Black celebrities, like Boss Up, Media Takeout,
right.
TMZ, of course, for sure. Everybody wants TMZ and still does. And it was just like the YBF or, stuff like that. That's what I would go to frequently.
But it wasn't like it was like your prime obsession in life with celebrity news. It was just something that you were tangentially sort of interested in and paid attention to, kind of thing.
Exactly. That's why I call this a fluke. But I will say that there are elements of it that I did see in myself prior to. You get what I'm saying? But it wasn't like I knew I was aware of those things. It was like, oh, I was always a good storyteller. So if something happened, everybody would come to me to tell the story. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, totally. I'll tell it. And people will be like, oh, it's so juicy, So there were certain things about me that people were like, okay, this makes sense, but we never would have thought, right? So it's just crazy how life works.
Yeah. So you had some of those characteristics, but you applied them to something unexpected, which I think is really cool. It's a cool way to look at it, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you clearly also had the business mindset too. And I think that's obviously kind of helped you build this. So again, I think one of your most recent Instagram posts was, the context of it is really amazing to hear where you were 8 years ago. You wrote, in March 2014, this brand was started in a broke down apartment in Hawthorne. I was late on rent, unemployed, and needed a side hustle. And then again, we're flash forward to 8 years and you're the number one social brand across the internet. Take me back to that moment, because I mean, you clearly have been doing some reflecting this year on getting to number one. I mean, that's humongous. Was it really just, I need a side hustle? Is that why you started the Shade Room? Or I'm curious, I guess, what your initial kind of goals for it or intentions were for it.
Well, just to go back to that moment, I had my old boss had given me an ultimatum, and he told me that either I was going to pursue because I was away at Sundance to write a script. And so he said, either you're going to, because it was during tax season, I basically was neglecting my work. Trust me, I was neglecting my work.
We've
I was
all
a
been there.
horrible employee. But he was like, you either going to do this or that. And so I chose, and then obviously it resulted in me having to leave my job. So at that point, I was dead broke. You know what I mean? Like, I got a grant from Sundance. It was $5,000. But I mean, with rent in LA, 5,000 is going real quick. You know what I mean?
A couple months, yeah.
Be one of the most challenging points of my life. I remember applying to like Pinkberry and not getting a job there because I had a degree, I guess, and they didn't feel like I was serious about it or whatever. Wow. But I would apply to I was like, no, Pinkberry, like I need this job. You know what I mean? It was that bad. So I was, thinking about what to do. When you're writing a script and it's in like a program phase, you're not making money off of it. It's like, you're working for free basically.
Yeah, totally.
So I was just in a very dire position. And the way that it came about was, I keep saying a fluke, but I will say destiny. I'll just switch it and say it was destiny, right? My friend was calling me and I was telling her about everything that was going on in the media. I was her personal blog for all my friends. You know what I mean? Because they were all in grad school. I didn't have anything to do.
You had the time, exactly.
I had all of the time. So I was talking to her and she was like, you tell this so well. Like the way she was like, you need to start your own site. This is what you're doing all day. Just start your own site. So I would say that what really happened for me to start this was, yes, I did need a hustle. Yes, I did need money, but also I wasn't doing anything all day except for working on the script. So I had time to try things. So I just tried it.
Yeah.
Literally, I didn't know, I had plans for it, but for me, my plans were so small for the Shade Room. It was like, I just wanted 100,000 followers to help me build a website. Like that was it. I never thought it would be anything like this.
Wow.
But I tried it. I actually tried it. And I tried it in a way that didn't make sense because I didn't know how to make a website. So I tried it with what I had in my hands. What was it? My resources. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you have a dream, like, not to veer off the topic, but I have a friend who wants to start a podcast. And I was like, she's like, I need all this equipment. And I'm like, but you have your phone. Like, it's 2022. You know what I mean? Like, movies have been shot on the phone. So I just worked with what I had. And that's when it started. And I had a reaction I didn't expect. It was,
Yeah, I'm sure. And I think there's another lesson in there is sort of just like I think it's what you're getting at, which is like, if you have this dream, if you have this idea to start something, it doesn't have to be perfect when you start it. It doesn't have to be some pristine product or whatever. Like just start it, and then it can improve as you go on, right? And I think that's and I think like I think it's awesome that for you it was like you were groundbreaking in making a celebrity news outlet directly on Instagram, but like you did that because that was what those are the resources that you had, and that was what was at your fingertips. And I think that's amazing. It was the convenience.
Yeah, it wasn't some genius insight to disrupt an industry. It was this is all I have, so let me use it, and it was perfect for what was for me. You know what I mean?
That's incredible. And so you start. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you start posting anonymously? Like was it anonymous for a while? So when did you change that to not be anonymous? When did you sort of step back from behind the curtain?
It might have been when Cardi B called me out and posted my picture and called me a water buffalo on Instagram.
No.
Listen, after that, I didn't have no choice because it was like, she pulled me from the.
So it was her blowing your cover.
I might have did an interview. Oh no. That's not true. Let me go back because I remember. It was New York Times. They wanted to do an article on me. So, I'm not about to turn down the New York Times. Like, the New York Times want to talk to you, talk to them. So I talked to them because it was growing and they were like, what is this? Who's behind it? So I had to like show myself a little bit. But it was like, it wasn't like overt, like I wasn't on the page. So that was good. But it was just like, and then after New York Times, BuzzFeed did an article. And then, but I would still say that most people didn't know. It was when Cardi that made it bigger.
Blasted out, right? Oh my gosh, I can't. So, and was it when like the New York Times and BuzzFeed reached out that you were like, oh, I have something here, or did you have that moment before that? Did you have that realization before? Was there something that sort of triggered? Okay, I need to
I
pursue.
knew right away.
Really?
I knew 3 days in
Wow.
to starting it, even though I only had 3,500 followers in 3 days.
I mean, at that time, that's pretty awesome. You know, it's
Yeah, I was
like,
like, this is fast. But it was the people telling me, it was the people that followed that told me. They were like, you have something. This is great, you know? And so that was it. Even though at 3,500 followers, I remember telling my friend, and she's like, whatever, my old dusty party promoter has that. You know what I mean? So it's
but
like
not that quick,
you
not that quickly, right?
right, yeah. So I knew right away for sure.
So in the years since, I mean, the Shade Room has grown to exponential growth, but there have also been countless copycats and people that have sort of taken after your approach to posting news directly on Instagram. I mean, like now every brand does that. And there are people that, again, have sort of, there are copycats that are in your lane, but, you know, I guess, what do you see as, whether intentional or not, like, what do you see as the Shade Room's sort of lasting impact on like the media side of things, like on how things are reported or how celebrity information is shared across the internet? What do you sort of see the Shade Room's direct impact being there?
So I'll name a few things. I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is the lower barrier to entry. I think that media was like seen as like websites and things like that, and sometimes that as some, it may be easy for some, but for others that is a technological barrier. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
May not be able to afford to host your website, and if your website blows up, you know, servers and all these types of things, and lawyers and all that, right? So I think that it was a lower barrier to entry in the sense that you didn't have to have the resources necessary. Now there was a way to utilize Instagram, a free platform to build a business, and I've seen multiple sites being built, and to me it actually makes me happy. I don't like, you know, like if you wear a pair of glasses and everybody starts wearing your glasses, some people get mad, but I like it because I'm
It's called
like, wait,
influence.
it's influence. And if it, why wouldn't I want other people to enjoy like I am this opportunity? You know what I'm saying? So I'm cool with that. But I think that that's one of the things it did. The second thing it did was, I think back in the day, celebrity news was very uh boxed in. So it was only like the drama, the love stuff, you know what I mean? All that type of stuff. But I think that we started to incorporate morning inspirations and politics, and we started to incorporate you know, promotion for these celebrities for free, obviously, because it's like, you know, we're reporting on you. So when your song comes out, we got to report on that too. And that changed the landscape of celebrity news, because now it's like kind of meshed in. You know what I mean? We all of the sites talk about politics now. All the sites talk about everything and morning inspiration. So it's like it's the diversity of news. The third thing I would say we did. I'm sorry for this long
No,
list.
I want to hear it. I really am curious what you kind of view these things as.
The third thing I would say we did was I'm sorry, my phone is messed up, so the thing keeps ringing. But even if I turn it off, but I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
There was a third impact of the Shade Room that you were thinking about.
The celebrity involvement. So, you know, when the site was on like www. Celebrities would not go into the comments and comment because it was like weird. So now we, you know, with us creating this platform where it was on social media and the celebrities, easy access, celebrities felt like they could use the platform just by commenting or liking something to represent their narrative. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And then the audience felt like they could get direct access to the celebrities, right? Because if they're in the comments, they talk, you know what I mean? Like, so it was this new exclusive way of celebrities directly addressing situations through likes, comments, and all these types of things that were available to them, you know?
Yeah, in so many ways, I feel like what the Shade Room was doing was sort of also just breaking down just like the celebrity kind of industrial like infrastructure that exists, which was like, okay, you release a statement through your publicist when a story comes out, and then it goes to an official, like it goes to like a tabloid or like a People magazine type thing, or like a whatever, like their statement could just be a comment on your post. You know what I mean? And that's pretty it's hard to think back that because it happened so much now, but like that wasn't happening before. That was really different and probably mutually beneficial too.
It was definitely mutually beneficial. We get an exclusive and you get to tell your narrative and the audience gets to feel how they feel based on what you said and reply. And then another thing would be just the details of celebrity news changed because it was like, oh, this person like this, and that's news. This person liking a picture is news. This person
Unfollowed.
You'd unfollow. Like it was like this social media kind of angle to celebrity news where it was every little thing, which is used good or bad, but it was every little thing about the celebrities, so and then okay, the last one, I'm sorry, I keep going.
The impacts know no bounds.
The last one was the community involvement.
Yeah.
And the naming of the community. So calling them the roommates. I remember at the time that we did that, I was like, only like Rihanna, like Navy and like Beehive, like these celebrities have those like hives. And so it was kind of weird for us as a site to have a hive, you know what I mean? But we called them the roommates and they were driving the news in the sense that they were the ones who would catch Chris Brown commenting in a second before he deleted it. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't do that. So they essentially became the reporters, and not the reporters, but the tippers. Yeah, they became tippers, but in a different way.
So they send you the screenshots and they send you the tips. Has that always sort of been part of how you guys operate? Is getting those follower tips?
Yeah, because we couldn't afford paparazzi and all that type of stuff. So our paparazzi were the roommates. Literally, one time, Amber Rose and Wiz Khalifa were caught outside of the house kissing. No, Wiz Khalifa was caught cheating on Amber Rose. I'm sorry, outside of the house. And our roommate was just walking their dog and just was like, Wiz.
That's wild.
And sent it to us. So it was like, we were, again, the barriers to entry were being lowered because now the people were, you know what I mean? We don't have to go through like paparazzi and do all this stuff behind the scenes. Like it was just people sending in what they saw.
So going off that, I'm curious what your thoughts are on like a Dumois, who's sort of like, I feel like they were the first account since the Shade Room, I think, to really shake things up in a big way. Like just in terms of, I think how celebrities were sort of looking at how things got out and stuff like that. Because they crowdsource, but they directly put things out, without even like looking at where it comes from or whatever. I'm curious how you look at something like that, and if you think that they're sort of, are they taking a page from your book, or do you like what an account like that does? I'm curious, sort of, again, as a CEO of the Shade Room, what you think of that.
So I feel bad because I don't know the account. So can you explain?
Oh my gosh, I love that. So Dumois is like this. It's this account that it popped up during the pandemic, and it's an anonymous account that posts people. I mean, their whole thing is just posting anonymous tips without vetting anything, or they'll post direct screenshots from of their DMs with followers who it's everything from like, I spotted Harry Styles getting coffee, or like I heard XYZ about this upcoming movie.
That sounds good. I have to go look it up because you
have to go look it up. I'll tell you about it once we wrap. But like they've really shaken it up because I think it's sort of like people are like, who is this person? Because whoever runs it hasn't identified themselves. So it's one of those. I mean, I think it's taken a page from your book, but Well,
you know what? I think that, how do I think about it? I think that they're on the right path, but there are some cons to it. I think they're on the right path because I do think that eventually news is going to go into a direction where people are going to be the sources and the verifiers on their own. It's kind of like that already now. Think about it. Like we have to go through all the news on social media and see what's real and what's not.
Totally.
Unless you're going to like a trusted source. But there's so much trickery on the internet that we also have to be verifiers of news. So I think that eventually it is going to get to the point where the media, celebrity news, everything is going to be in the hands of the people, and they're going to be the ones driving and figuring out what's authentic and what's not.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like when you get an anonymous tip, or when somebody sends you a photo that's like really newsworthy or whatever, what hoops do you jump through, if any, to like verify it or like check on it? Like what do you think about? Because some things I'm sure are like kind of, kind of scary to post, because if it's wrong, that's, you could be like a legal thing.
First of all, I think coming out and having a drive, I really wish I could turn it off. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Having a drive to want to be reputable is important for any brand.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, there's more value when people trust you. You get what I'm saying? And trust the news that comes from you. So I will always say, like, that's the route to go. You can start anonymous, but if you really want to be like a information source for the people, you definitely have to have some transparency. That's just what you got to do, right? And it has to be reputable. We go through big hoops because we can't play around. Like we can't play around anymore. Like we're loud. So if we put something out and it hits the internet in 10 minutes, you know what I mean? We will definitely be responsible for that. So, I mean, listen, the hoops are endless. I think that the hard part is that there's no formula, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like in this world, anything happens. I'm trying to think of something. I mean, there's so many ways we were almost tricked. Okay, this is an example. Bobby Smurda, this is when he first went to jail. And no, this is the second time he went to jail. We got a video from the roommates of Bobby Smurda on video saying, "I'm out of jail, y'all." And it was like sunny outside. And he was like, "I'm out of jail." And so I remember in the beginning, I'm like, this is proof. Bobby Smurda is on here saying he's out of jail. This has to be it. We posted it, and all the people in New York were like, "It's snowing out here." Like that you know what I'm saying? So it's like from that
weather report.
I mean, and that happens all the time. Like some people will just get a high off of wanting to trip you up or send you something false. So it's endless. I mean, we have to call hospitals. I know that's, we have to call police stations and look at reports and pull things and hunt down. Like it's a lot. We can't just.
Yeah. Well, that's like the reason why this account that I told you about, Dumois, is pretty controversial, is because they don't do any of that. So they'll just post things without doing any sort of vetting. And so I think that's where it's a little dangerous, right? Because it's like, okay, you're opening yourself up to a lot of things by not doing that.
Right. It's dangerous.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm curious to loop back a little bit to sort of like the celebrity, like mutually beneficial relationship of it all. Like, was there somebody who sort of kickstarted that for you? Like who you did sort of like kind of like you became like kind of in contact with, who you were like, okay, like this is how we can maybe operate going forward? Or was that like kind of a gradual thing that happened where you sort of realized that was kind of a good approach to making this account grow and kind of gain kind of be reputable? I'm curious sort of what the evolution was there.
You mean like with celebrities stepping into the shade?
Or like was there like that, like when you were starting in the first couple of years, were there celebrities DMing you who were like tipping you off or whatever? Or was it like you started noticing that they were following you and commenting on the account? Like, was it a public or private thing? I'm just curious how that sort of came to be.
It was definitely both. I think that celebrities are very concerned with their image. I mean, you know what I mean? They're very concerned.
They live or die by their image. Yeah,
they do, as they should, because we all are. But it's on a different level. But also, they are very involved. You know what I'm saying? So I talk to them all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, these are stories that are going out about their lives, and they want to make sure that their narrative is being told. You get what I'm saying? So they've always been involved, even early on. Early on, they were involved. As soon as people started to get hip to it, that's when they started to come into.
Who was the biggest, earliest one that you were like, that was paying attention and really?
I can't say that. I can't because
what about like publicly, like kind of following you or commenting on the posts?
And
really recognizing you in like a public way.
Kim Kardashian, honestly, and that was very surprising for me. But Kim Kardashian was very supportive early on. We got invited to like the listening parties with Kanye. We got the drops from everybody there. She would mention it on the show. She would post it on her social media one time, So she was very open about that. Oprah Winfrey, we got her early on.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, she knew about it. I'm just trying to think who was the first. big one. I don't remember who the first one was, but I just
But
remember.
those are pretty big early examples. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to this really great podcast recently from The Ringer called Just Like Us. And it was all about kind of early 2000s celebrity tabloid culture and like kind of the rise of paparazzi and Us Weekly and all these things coming together. And there was an episode directly about how a lot of these quote unquote mainstream tabloids weren't really covering Black celebrities very much in depth. They were covering, you know, Halle Berry and Denzel Washington, like the biggest A-list stars, but there wasn't really an outlet that was kind of getting more of like the B-listers and the people who like maybe like on a mainstream level, like who were whatever. And that kind of left a huge opportunity as with the rise of the internet for blogs to pop up like Media Takeout and like Gossip. And I'm curious if like you see the Shade Room as taking like sort of taking that baton into the social media era, for, like in terms of covering Black celebrities really in depth, like a lot of outlets don't do, and kind of serving that audience in a really kind of catering to Black audiences, or if you see you sort of operating alongside blogs, like kind of trailblazing blogs like that. I'm curious how you think about that.
I think it's passing the baton. I think it is because, well, even though Media Takeout and Gossip are still thriving, I think it's passing the baton because we just did it differently. Again, like Media Takeout, I remember I used to live for Media Takeout. Like they would post 10 juicy stories, you know what I mean, a day. And you just knew in the morning you get that tea and then you gotta wait another 24 hours to get that. You know what I'm saying? But we introduced the system of posting. I mean, at first it was 24 hours, you know what I mean? So it even changed up the tempo, you know, but also I think that it was more broad. It just a lot more, you know, extra details about these people. You know what I mean?
Right.
The good that they do, the bad that they do, the scandals and the blessings. You know, it talks about it all. But I would say it's so funny because that's exactly what we do. I mean, a lot of the people on the Shade Room would never be on. Well, TMZ is starting to get a little bit better about, but you know what I mean, like that. You know. But like they wouldn't be on like Page 6 or totally. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have that. So
there's a total blind spot in some of those legacy outlets for sure.
But I don't even think that it's that bad, because here's the thing though. If Page 6's audience is mostly white, then they're gonna cater to their audience. My audience is mostly Black, even though it's very diverse, but Black is the largest population that follows the Shade Room. Then you're gonna cater to them. If you
absolutely,
have you know what I mean? So, but the problem was before that we didn't have a place to share our perspective of what's happening in the community and with Black celebrities. So that that needs to be presented. And if only the images of Black people are on pages or sites that don't represent them, then you have to think that there's a bias of some sort. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
A natural one, or even just a lack of understanding in some way. You know?
And I think also, like you said, like you're starting the conversation, and then in the comments, it's like all the roommates flood in with, and kind of it goes back to that community that you were talking about earlier, which is like it really is this creation of you guys post something and then all your roommates come in and talk to one another and interact with you guys. I think it just you've built this amazing back and forth, you know, and it's really, again, it's still unique, and I think that's amazing.
I think what it feels like is a place.
Yeah.
Not a page. It feels like something. That's what we say.
It's a room. It's a room.
It feels like once you come in, it feels like you're in a place, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I love it. So what do you, when you look back at the last 8 years, what are sort of the big exclusives or big breaks that you're either most proud of, or that you really think help move the needle for the Shade Room in a big way in terms of like just visibility or notoriety?
If I have to be honest, because I get asked that question and I think about it, like, you know, I mean, we've had some big breaks. We did break Beyonce's pregnancy, though. We were the first ones to post that. But it's not even about that. I think it's about the consistency of just what we do. Because honestly, I don't think people come to the Shade Room for exclusives, if I have to be honest with you. I think people come to the Shade Room for community and
Yeah.
information, but they're not like, oh, the Shade Room's gonna break. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, they just know we're gonna have all the information you need, we're gonna have it quick, and it's gonna be good conversation. So that's kind of what I would say built the Shade Room
Yeah.
is that, yeah.
So, but you must be proud though when you see the black and red TSR watermark kind of like on other pages, or kind of, because like how when your stuff is screenshotted and put elsewhere, like that I feel like is like a visible representation of your reach, you know what I mean, and the impact that it can have.
For sure, for sure. And even when I'm like watching TV, I could just be just chilling with my friends, just trying to watch a movie, and they're saying the Shade Room in the movie. You know what I mean?
That's
Or
pretty
I'm
cool.
listening to a song, and I'm like, oh, the Shade Room. So I think that I can see it, but when you're inside of it, it's hard to really see it. Like, I don't see everybody sharing the Shade Room because I'm inside. You know what I mean? I don't know how to
Yeah. You're too close. You're too close to the
yeah,
operation.
yeah.
So speaking of, like, so it was just you for a long time, but I'm curious, and it was really like in your voice, and it was you. When did that? Can you talk to me about the evolution of that in terms of when you brought other people on, and when you sort of broadened the voice of what the Shade Room's voice was? Because now I know it's you have. I'm curious how many employees you have now.
Still not that much. I have about 30 employees, so it's not that much.
I mean,
We're still
that's pretty
operating.
sizable though. I mean, that's
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we consider it was just you for a good amount of time, you know?
Right. Well, for 8 months, it was just me. But so for the majority of the 8 years, I had a team and they helped me. For the first 8 months, it was depressing, honestly, because I did not sleep. Like, I had to be the one like acting like 10 people writing on a thing, you know what I mean? 24/7. I had this idea that I should do it 24/7. So I was very stressed out. And it got to a place where I knew that, see, I'm motivated by crisis. That's just how I get motivated. So it got to a place where I was like, okay, I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. So I have to have people. You know what I mean? I can't operate this anymore on my own. So what I did was I hired from the people who were like followers of the Shade
Mm,
Room, who liked the Shade Room. So there was this one girl, she reached out and she was very persistent, and I like persistent people. So
yeah.
I go with the most persistent. I'm like, this person is extremely persistent. I'm like, oh, well, they must want to work here. So I go with that person, and I went with her. She was a good hire for a while, and I just started to hire more people that were persistent. I just took whoever was persistent, and it worked out. It was all a part, like they were meant to be here at that time, So, and then I just started to build based on what we needed. So if I had 3 people writing and then they started to say, you know what, we can't do this anymore, we need this, then I would hire for that. Or if we needed an accountant, you know what I mean? Like, I just took my time hiring what positions I felt were most vital to the journey
Yeah,
at that time, right?
totally.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about sort of the future of the Shade Room, or what you, obviously, I feel like Instagram is still probably your biggest community in terms of following, but what do you kind of look at in terms of where you want to grow next, or what like, is there another iteration of it that you would like to spawn off of it? I'm curious what you're thinking about in terms of the next year, 2, 5. What's the future look like?
You know what? For me, the future looks like going with the wave. I feel like the wave now is that the people want the news in their hands. They don't trust big media companies anymore. They don't trust CNN, Fox, all the news propaganda, everything. Yeah, now it's to the point now where we take news from CNN and Fox and all these big, because you have to, like, certain things you
Right.
just don't have access to. And the people want to break that down. Like, they want to break down that wall. They want to be able to, which is like I said, it's like social media. It's dangerous because there's some things that can happen, but it's also really good too. The good is good. And so I think that for me, the goal is to switch the change of hands with the Shade Room to the roommates completely. But that is a strategy that will take a long time to explain. But I think that, because I actually don't know how to make it happen. To be honest with you, I have a vision, but do I
Right.
know exactly what to do? No. I'm just going to rely on the fact that life gives you surprises, and I'm going to work hard towards this, not knowing how to build it because I don't, not knowing what it looks like because I don't know. But I want to trust that if it's my destiny to do that with this platform, that somehow it's going to work again like it did back then, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think you mentioned this at the top of our interview, but the Shade Room also gives back a lot and gives back to the community a lot and raises money. So I'd love if you could explain some of those efforts that you guys do, because I feel like you said at the beginning, like I think that a lot of the time, like the celebrity news aspect of it, which is obviously the biggest aspect of the Shade Room, like that overshadows some of the different things that you guys do. So I'd love if you could just talk to that so people know listening and watching.
Well, yeah, I think giving is really important to me because I was a product of people giving to me. Like for as long as I can remember, people showed up for me in my life when I needed them to. Like it's so crazy, you know what I mean, all the times, you know. So because of that, I'm like if you look at like the companies that I give to, Peace for Kids, I actually was in Peace for Kids when I was younger. So I was a product of their program. So I feel like of course I have to get back to Peace for Kids because I want to get other people to have that experience. UFC, I was a part of United Friends of the Children for foster youth. Like I go back to who helped me, but then I also give to other people. And like, for instance, I had a scholarship. That's how I was able to get through LMU. So now we want to give to people who need scholarships. I just think that you're never blessed with a lot. You're never blessed with a lot for yourself. And by the way, that's something I wrestle with.
Yeah.
Because you can, I mean, the more you have, the more you can get silly with how you
Of course, yeah. I'm sure it's sort of a slippery slope too. Yeah.
Everybody has to check themselves. Trust me. I have to check myself sometimes. I'm like, are you like, why are you buying it? Or like, why are you doing this? You know? So I just check myself. I have a self-reflection and I don't want to be somebody that just makes money and doesn't do anything with it. Like the most important part, that's why it means the most to me. And that's the only thing that makes me happy, truly, to be honest with you. Because the other stuff, a house is a box after a while. A car gets old after a while. Giving is like something that's just, I don't know. You know what I mean? It just feels good.
It really does. It probably fuels you. It probably like I think what's so amazing of what you just said is like the Shade Room is so intertwined with your own personal story at this point, and for you to be able to make it a full circle thing and give back to some of the organizations and communities that helped get you to where you are now is, you couldn't ask for a better way to operate. And I think that is so, it must just serve as, every time you do it, it must serve as a reminder of, one, how far you've come, but also two, of the fact, like, I need to keep doing this. I need to keep giving back to how I got here, because that you're paving the way for a lot of people. And I think it's really, really special.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your story is great, and I'm so glad that I got some time to chat your ear off and hear all about it. But where can people follow you? Where can people, I mean, do your plugs that you want to do before we sign off, because I want people to find out more.
Okay, they can follow me. Well, I'm on Instagram, no IG Angelica. I rarely post, so it's not that much. It's like I have 10 pictures on Instagram. Where else? LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Angelica Nwandu. The Shade Room. If you want anything related to the Shade Room, you can follow that and DM. We answer DMs and respond to. We try to respond to all the DMs. Hopefully, that's what's happening.
I'm sure you get a lot.
But yeah, those are the best places. Yeah.
Shade Room DM situation must just be like, I can't even imagine. And
I try to get them. I'm like, you guys have to respond to every single DM, and I know they're like, this girl is crazy, but they do. They respond. So I don't even know how they do it. Honestly, I don't.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, Angelica, I so admire you for what you've built, for your story, and just everything you've accomplished. And I feel like there's so much more for you to do. So I'm just excited to see, again, I know the future is uncertain in so many ways, but I'm excited to see what it looks like for you. And I'll be watching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, don't forget to send me that page, because I have to get the tea. I gotta go.
I will. Right after we stop recording, I'll stay on. All right. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to We Should Talk. I hope you enjoyed the interview. You can find out more about In The Know at intheknow.com. You can follow me, Gibson Johns, at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram. And you can listen to all of our interviews, past and future, by searching We Should Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Hope to see you next time.